And welcome back. Louisiana is suspending its May 16th House primaries following the Supreme Court's decision to strike down its congressional map. The High Court found the state relied too heavily on race when it created a second majority black district. Louisiana Democratic Congressman and Vice Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Troy Carter, joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So the governor is encouraging the state legislature to pass a new congressional map. What expectations do you have for this?
Well, it's a devastating blow. Elections have already begun. Mail-in ballots began a few weeks ago. People are poised to go out to begin early voting tomorrow. It's going to cause mass confusion and irreparable harm to our military soldiers who are protecting us at home and abroad, elderly patients and elderly individuals who have challenges but made a way to get their ballots in. It's going to cause mass confusion.
And Congressman, what about your district in particular? I mean, do you have any idea of what it may look like? And do you plan to run for re-election if your district is impacted in this way?
I have no idea what the district will look like. We can only guess. Some have surmised that there's maps that have already been driven in anticipation of this. I have no clue what it will look like, but yes, I do plan to run in whatever map is left. The people of Louisiana deserve to have their voices heard. I intend to offer myself to continue serving the people of Louisiana, and we will just wait and see what the legislature does.
And can you walk us through some of the conversations you've been having or hearing from some of your fellow members in the Congressional Black Caucus after this ruling?
I think everyone recognizes what a gut punch this has been to our democracy. The Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. It was a landmark legislation that signaled the end of Jim Crow, the end of the discrimination that we saw that divided minorities and African Americans and denied them the opportunity to vote. Here we are in 2026 revisiting that. There was a time when you walked up to vote in the Deep South and you had to count how many jelly beans were in a jar to determine if you can vote. You had to own property or you had to be able to recite the preamble to the Constitution. Here we are in 2026. The Supreme Court has dealt a devastating blow to the Voting Rights Act, Article 2, that talks about the thin window of definition of how you can show intent that there was intentional discrimination. Well, that's like the jelly bean jar contest. How do you, in this narrow window, show that there was intent to discriminate against versus what they've allowed to happen, which is allowing now there to be partisan gerrymandering. So you're allowed to have gerrymandering that allows you to, by party, carve out and create an advantage, while at the same time denying and making it more difficult for minorities to prove that they've been discriminated against. It's laughable. It flies in the face of our democracy and all the hard work and gains that we have fought for as Americans.
And Congressman, you're in Louisiana, but as you well know, many states across the country have been revising their maps, and trying to make them more partisan. It doesn't seem like a good thing for Congress in general, but I'm curious what your take is on what this ruling means nationwide when you're having all these other states join in on this redistricting process.
Well, the process of having midterm redistricting is never a good one. There's a reason why we have reapportionment every 10 years to take into account the ebbs and flows of demographic changes. When the demographics change, you adjust every 10 years. When you start doing this based on politics, based on who's in office midterm, just to acquire the number of votes to control the Congress, that's a devastating blow to how our democracy is supposed to work. Democracy is supposed to count and to work with a republic that says every person has a vote, every person has a voice. But when we decide that we're trying to control, in this case, President Trump has been very clear. He wants to get enough votes to control the House of Representatives. That is not demonstrative of how our government should work. people select their leaders. Leaders don't select their voters.
Do Democrats feel, though, that they are in a position where they can't unilaterally disarm? I mean, what we saw in Virginia as a response to the president's efforts in other states, it just feels like you're in this battle now, and there's no way out of it. I mean, it just seems like this is the way things are headed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this battle started. And it started very simply with the president calling Texas saying, I need just 5 more votes. So unfortunately, when you're thrown into this cycle of the rules have changed midstream, you have to quickly adapt to the rules. These are not the optimal situations. We should not have to go in and do these defensive measures, but we have no choice because it's either that or we let a rogue president run with the ball and undo democracy right before our very eyes. So unfortunately, we have to do what you see happen in Virginia, what's happening in other places, because of a battle that was started with a simple phone call from the president telling Texas, midterm reapportion and get me 5 more votes. And that's caused us to go into this now cycle, as you put it, and I agree with you, in a cycle that is untenable. Who wants to do this? This is not the proper way to govern.
Yeah, and I don't think that Americans benefit in the long run from a more partisan Congress, but we shall see. Congressman Troy Carter, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.